This is an automatic door controller for sliding gate. The remote control section has failed, so I need to replace that. What happens is that the mains power, 240 volts, comes in here to 1 and 2, and then up here the voltage gets changed to 24 volts AC, and the 24 volts runs down the black and red wires down to the remote controller. When you hit the button on the fob, the remote controller will send a signal to the white and blue wires up here. It'll join them together. That's 11 and 12 on the diagram, and that causes the motor to run, which turns the cog, and then that will move the gate back and forth until the stoppers at either end of the gate causes the motor to stop via the switch. And that is provided that the safety or manual safety mechanism is all pushed in, and that will push in the micro switch as well as allow the shaft here to be out. So at the moment it's pushed in, and I've removed the handle because I have to repair that. But when this is out, the motor and cog are engaged. So at the moment it's in. So it's as if I've released the handle, and at the moment it's freewheeling. Well, now it's just moved itself out. And that's how this manual release works. I have all the parts now to make the repair. Even though the schematic here shows 24 volts AC, this object here must be a rectifier that changes the AC to DC. So it's 20 volts DC coming down the wire, as shown here on the multimeter, 24 volts DC. And then I will use this buck converter to change the voltage down to 12 volts DC, because that's what the new remote controller works on, 12 volts DC. I'm setting up the buck converter now to reduce the voltage from 24 down to 12. So with the machine on, connect the wires to the input side of the buck converter with correct polarity, and then get the multimeter probes on the output, and then we've got a voltage of 20, so we need to reduce that to 12. So we use a small screwdriver to turn the top pot anti-clockwise until we get to 12. I've soldered the wires now. I've set the buck converter to output 12 volts, and that's now powering the new controller. So it's a matter of pushing the button here, that's for the remote learning, and we push one of the remote buttons. You can see the little red light flashing. That means, well, now learning's completed, and we've got to do it a second time for the second remote. And now that learning is completed, we should be able to, so every time we push the button, activates a relay, and that's joining the two wires together. So in this case it's comms 4 and normally open 4. And I've connected a multimeter set to continuity just to check that we've got the right pair of wires. So every time we push, it's a momentary connection. And that's what we want to connect up here momentarily to drive the motor. Everything's now connected, so it's just a matter of testing everything before we put it all together. The unit reassembled and painted and working.